So the firewall is, we should know what is basically the firewall. So the main use of the firewall is to allow or deny the traffic, right? So any firewall. So earlier we had the different firewalls. Like, so we had the L3 firewalls, layer 3 firewalls, and layer 4 firewalls, right? And application level firewalls, right? So these are the different variety that we have. So I hope you are aware on the OSI model. So on the basis of that, we'll be giving this one. So application level firewall, or we call this is proxy firewall. So L3 firewall is basically which will inspect on the layer 3, which will be on the source IP and destination IP, and permit the traffic, source IP and destination IP, and permit it. Okay, like how we have in the router, so Cisco router. So those things will be covering the this destination IP, right, and permitting. Okay. So L4 firewall, here we'll be having the ports details also, like it will be coming the source IP and source port, destination IP, and destination port. So these are the main things that will be covering the L4 layer firewall, right? And so example I have given is one is like a router or any firewall which will work in the layer 3, right? So this is the main this one. So L4 firewall, we have this earlier one Cisco, right? Cisco ASA or FortiGate, anything you can take it. Okay. And then we have the application level firewall or the proxy firewall, right? So where it will be acting as the proxy. So we have that in the FortiGate also, and all the other firewalls also like Cisco, right? So and Palo Alto, right? And apart from that, we have this Blue Coat. There are some other firewalls where proxy firewalls where whenever the packets coming, right? Say, give an example on that. Yeah. So here is a user and this is firewall, and we'll have the internet. Just connect like this. Okay. Right. So here what will happen whenever the sessions are coming. So basically I will give the example on the application level firewall. So whenever the user is initiated traffic to the internet, say google.com, right? So that time the session will be terminated at here in the firewall itself, right? And then there will be a new session that will be created towards the internet. So that we call as the application level firewall and the proxy firewall. And so this will inspect the complete session from here to there, right? And it basically act as the new session, right? It is not in the same session from user to the internet. So it will completely break that flow and it starts the new session, complete new session from the firewall to the internet. This requires the lot of processing, lot of changes and lot of monitoring, right? So this is application level firewall. This is only used right, very this one, like wherever there is very banking and all the high level, this one is there. So criticality is there, so that time we will be using this one. So otherwise we have this L4 firewall, so which we'll also called as the this next generation firewall. So now all these are comes under the next generation firewalls. Okay. So here what and all it will be covering in that next generation firewalls, so that we'll see now. Right. So this will be having the normal firewall rule to allow or deny the traffic. Next generation firewalls. So here we'll be seeing the allow, right? And then we'll be doing the traffic inspection, right? And we will be observing there are different profiles that we'll be seeing, right? So there will be like any antivirus is there or any malicious content is there in that file, right? And we'll be doing the web filtering. Right. So all these security profiles, right? So there are multiple security profiles that we'll be seeing. So this is called as the like UTM, right? Unified Threat Management. So all these things we'll be covering that. And then there will be a VPN. So and SSL VPN, like IPsec VPN and SSL VPN will be there in this one. And then we have this routing and NATing, right? So these will be coming as that actually. So firewall policies. Right? So so you'll be getting all of the application level inspections then in with the different to each modules, right? There are different application, different model for the traffic inspection. There are different model for the VPN, like that. So there will be different modules, so where you will be having the information on all these, and this firewall will be inspected and then it will be sent it to internet. And we will also be the advantage of the next generation firewall or the L4 firewalls. Next generation firewall is that along with the L4 firewalls, it will also integrate all these UTM features, right? Whatever I said, and then all the other features also it will be integrated, right? So like IPS also is there in this one, intrusion prevention systems, where we'll be seeing any attacks if there is any attacks, right? So we have to monitor that, and we have to how we can block it with respect to from LAN towards the WAN. So all these things we'll be seeing. So this is the just the firewall types and uh, the use case, right? For that, like router firewall and this FortiGate firewalls, right? This L4 firewall, next generation firewall, and the application level firewalls. So hope it is clear for everyone. So this one we have seen that like basically FortiGate firewalls and their purpose, right? And so here, so what is the architecture, right? So coming to the architecture now, right? So architecture divides into the multiple types, right? Architecture, FortiGate architecture. basically it is divided into multiple this one. So there is a hardware, and then there is a software, and there is a control plane and data plane and management plane. So what is this architecture consist of, right? So, so here you see, I have just given all these bullet points to cover this architecture point of view, right? So hardware, right? So 48 architecture consists of the multiple hardwares, right? From the physical towards the virtual, and from the small ends towards the small models towards the larger models to cover the all the infrastructure point of view, right? So we cover each point in detail. So yeah, the first one, if you take hardware, so I'll just share you, right, what are the products that we have in the Fortinet, right? So this page is taken from the FortiGate only, and here hope you are seeing all the models. So this is the FortiGate models: 30G, 40F, 50G, 60F, 70F, right? And then 70G, 80F, 120, right? So So basically, all these are like branch wise where we can use that models. And here you can see the throughput of each model, like whatever the throughput is there. And accordingly, we have to use that. And IPsec VPN throughput, IPsec VPN throughput, and IPS throughput. So next generation firewall throughput, right? And threat protection. What is the threat protection, that what is the throughput that we have? Depends on the our usability. We have to see that. There's a major thing, right? Concurrent session, right? So this one we have to see whenever we are making the selection among these models, right? Concurrent session and SSL VPN throughput, right? So it depends on the use case of the customer. So we have to choose the different models. And then there are firewall policies, right? So sometimes we'll be seeing, right? So in the use case that only 2000 policies, right? So these are, we can configure maximum 2000 policies, right? So after that, if you configure on the policy, then it will not be working for that because of the limitation on the firewalls. So accordingly, we have to see whenever you are considering the firewall, and it should be mapped to next 5 years of the uh, deployment whenever you are choosing any firewalls. And there is concurrent SSL VPN users. So this one we'll be seeing this. So this is the concurrent one. Okay, 200 users concurrently they can log in. And SSL inspection, application inspection will be this one also, this different Mbps. It's there, right? And 40 APs, right? This 40 APs in the sense, right, is access points. So where we'll be covering this on the Wi-Fi part. So this is a FortiGate Wi-Fi, and then that is a that Wi-Fi controller will talk to this access points, and what are the specification that will see the total one. It will support 16, right? So like that it is given, right? And 40 switches, 40 tokens. So, and virtual domains, right? Virtual domains in the sense, right? So like if you take any firewall and divide, like say we don't need to purchase any other firewalls, and we can use the same firewall for multiple purposes, right? So one is for production traffic and one is for non-production traffic, like these two context, right? So these two partition, and it will be acting as one firewall, but we'll be having the logical separation. So that we call as the virtual domains, and we'll see, right, like there are 10 and there are 10. So what is the 10 virtual domains that we can create here? So this one, this thing, virtual domain part. And then there are interfaces, right? So interfaces, you'll be seeing this, right? So RJ45, four interfaces. So that I'll be having 4 gig Ethernet interfaces, right? And five, right? So 10 gig Ethernet. So and like this, right? So whatever the our usability, we have to check it. Power supply, see here, single AC, right? So this one we have to check it, right? So if that is okay on our part or not. like that, there are many other models. This is a hardware part that we are covering on the architecture point of view. So if we go down, right, so 120, and these are the ones 200 to 600 and 900, right? So these are the mid variant that we can use it for our company infrastructure. So where we have the lot of traffic, and we require to route between the branches from the head office to the branches, right? So of any application, if you take banking application, or if you take any IT company, right? So or any manufacturing company, right? So we can use these as our models. Right. So, and here also you will be seeing, right? So the concurrent session, you see the million, the count. So this is where the usability of the users and everything will be considered. The features are the same. The main thing is the all these will be increasing, right? So all the numbers, right, whatever you are seeing on the right side, so that will be increasing as you go the top in the model, right? So and from 1000 to say 6000, we have till 6000 here. Yeah, 600, 300, 500, right? So all these are data center, right? So we have to, this requires the very much high this one, right? So you see the session here, concurrent session, right? And throughput, everything is very higher, and this can be deployed the core of the your data center, and where you will be having a lot of traffic for processing, right? So that you have the throughput throughput we have to consider here whenever we are deploying at the data center level. The- All the throughputs you can see is very high here, and similar the sessions and everything is high. So apart from that, interfaces also you see there are many interfaces, 100 gig interfaces, SFE interfaces, right? So 10 gig interfaces, right? So like that, and we will be having the local storage of the firewall also. So like that, and there are three power supplies, right? So those things also it will be considered here. So you have seen the use case on the branch and the mid variant and the data center variant. So these three are the ones, and these are the other products of the FortiGate. And we have the FortiGate VMs also, where we can deploy that on the on-prem ones, and we can also integrate that with the cloud basis, right? So that is also there. These are only hardware it is considered, and there is also the software ones, right? So you see here virtual appliances. So they have the virtual appliance they have given separately here. So FortiGate VMs, so that we'll be seeing that. So each and all environment that we can use it, right? FortiGate VM. So this is the VM main. We'll be considering that, and we can deploy that on the Amazon, Azure, Cloud, any KVM, right? So like that. So coming to this hardware, we have seen that. So software, okay, software basically will be covering this ASIC, right? ASIC chips mainly. This will be taking control of ASIC. ASIC is nothing but application specific integrated chips. Okay. So this will be having the uh, separate integrated chips, where it will be having the say for the configure for the all the configurations and everything. So there will be chips, and also the for covering these UTM features, right? And then netting feature, right? So all these they'll be having the uh, feature. So or like there will be a separate module or separate chip that will take care of the UTM. In that, like we'll be having the VPN, and then the profiles, right? Antivirus, anti-spyware, security profiles, different security profiles, then the routing. So all these will be taken via separate chips, right? Separate integrated chips. So that we call as the software. Okay, so that will be covering the software part. So then we have the control plane. So here Just mark here. Okay. So control plane, it acts like a brain, right, of the firewall. Okay. So it will control all the, it will make the decision of any, if there is any packet coming. So it will make the decision, and then this copy will be sent it to the data plane. Okay. This whatever the copy, right? So this will be sent it to data plane, and this takes care of all configurations, right, and management. So configuration basically, not the management. So basically the configuration and decision of where the packet needs to be routed, right? So majorly this is a major part that will be taking decision to forward, right? So this will be taking off that. And then we have this data plane where whenever a packet comes, right? So it from the management, from the control plane, the decision is taken, right? So data plane will act as the uh, serving of the traffic. It will serve the traffic, right? So it will look into different modules, right? From ingress to egress. Right? So what is that is basically ingress to egress in the sense, because some people will not be knowing that. Okay. So in this scenario, user, right? So user is connected on port 1, and port 2 it is connected to internet, right? Right, from the firewall. This is a FortiGate firewall, and it's connected to internet. And so we call that this as the user connected to port 1. So this is incoming to the firewall. So this is why we call this as the ingress interface, ingress 1, right? And from port 2 it is going towards the outside. So this is why we call this as the egress. Okay. And here I said the ingress, right? So this is the ingress and this is the egress, right? User whenever accessing towards the internet, right? So all the serving the traffic, right? And then there is a uh, different decision that is taken by the control plane. So it actually does it, right? So decision is taken by control plane, but this one will be doing that actual processing of the traffic, right? So that is called as the data plane. Okay. And just to know that, so ingress and egress will change, right? Depending on the traffic flow, right? How is that? It is, say you have one server. Okay. You have one server here, and say you have one server, and that is connecting to, so I'll use the red line. Okay. So one server that is connecting to, say, this user, right? So that time this port 2, okay, so it will become ingress, right? So, so right, for the firewall, this ingress and egress, this is we are talking with respect to the firewall. So here we will be seeing this as the ingress one server to the to the port. So firewall sees that there's the like incoming traffic, right? So that's why port 2 will become the ingress, right? Earlier it was become the egress, right? Now it became the ingress, right? And then port 1 will become the egress. Right. So these are the terminologies with respect to these FortiGate firewalls. So in different firewalls, we have different terms. Right? So here we have ingress and egress, right? And accordingly, the traffic will be like whenever we talk, right? So we should be knowing that which are the ingress traffic and which are the egress traffic, right? And then once it comes here, right? So firewall need to check that. So what is the route and what is the interface it is coming in and what is the destination it's going to and is there any policies there and any inspection that we have, right? So all these things will be done by the data plane. The third one is the management one, right? So it will be mainly used for this configurations of the firewall backup, right? And reporting, right? So all these configuration, like what is the firewall configuration and the backup, right? So all this will be taken care by the management plane and the reporting, right? So need to report that to the any of the other products, right? Say if you want to report that to logs, right? There are multiple other FortiGate vendors, other FortiGate models, right? One of the example is a Forti Manager and then the Forti Analyzer, right? So for management plane will take care on this, like how we can report that to the all the different planes. So this is the use of the management plane, right? So this concludes the architecture of the FortiGate. There's a control plane, data plane, and the management plane, and the hardware we have seen, and the software we have seen. So this concludes the architecture of the FortiGate firewall. So next one, we'll be seeing this key features and the packet flow. Okay. So here we are having this firewall. I think these two we can take in one this one because so when I say packet flow across FortiGate firewall, this indirectly covers all these modules. So we'll start with a packet flow across the firewall so that we will see that. This is a very important topic. So just refresh it. Yeah. So so as I said earlier, so this packet flow we'll call as the parallel path processing, right? So and then like we will see that like how it will be done, right? So this page is taken from the FortiGate only, right? So that it is clear for everyone and to cover all the concepts, right? So that's why we have taken this page. So whenever the packet enters at the FortiGate firewall, say this one, we'll have separate diagram again. Here is a user firewall internet, and then this is the remote server, right? And then we have the remote user, okay, or the branch user that we call. So apart from that, so here we have this server, internal server, right? And normally, I'll just brief you on this, right? So normally, like when the user is connected to firewalls, right, there are multiple users and they are connected to multiple switches. And then, so this zone that we call as the LAN, just for the naming convention. Hello, hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I think the session got disconnected for some time. Okay. Let me share my screen again. So this is a lab setup that you'll be also getting that. Right. So yeah, so I was just explaining on this brief topology so that we will go with the check on the flow also. So this will be considered as the DMZ, and this one will be considered as the internet, right? Or some WAN, right? So any of the terminologies we can take it. So these are the remote users, remote server, and the remote user, right? So So when the packet reaches this network interface, right? So this is the first step, right? So and then it checks all the different parameters like the source IP, destination IP, which interface it is coming. The interface lookup, it will be checking that, right? Which interface here, which interface. So this will be like say port one, and this will be like port two, right? This is like port 3, right? So the interface lookup, right, and the IP lookup, right, from which IP, right? So this say this is 10.10.10.1. This is like 192.168.100.1, right? And the gateways, and it's going to say internet, uh, Google, right? So we are seeing this example as the Google one, say remote server 8.8.8, right? So the lookup of the interface, port 1, port 3, source IP, destination IP, and the protocol, which protocol it is accessing. Is it on the web or is it doing telnet, SSH, so anything. So that is taken care by the two models, right? So you see network interface and the TCP/IP stack. So these two will be covering this is covering the interface, incoming interface, outgoing interface, everything. This IP TCP/IP stack will be covering the source IP, destination IP, and the protocol. So these fields will be covering in this, right? Is taken in this module, right? So then there is a DOS policy which is place, right? So these two automatically is taken care whenever we configure the interfaces. So DOS policy, we need to configure it, right? Whenever traffic is leaving that, right? So DOS policy is basically, right? So DOS means denial of service, right? What will happen? So whenever we have this server, right, and then we are expecting some communication from the remote users, right? So the remote user is talking to the server, right? So that time we need to have the DOS policy, or from it is also going towards the outside also server talking to remote users, right? So we need to have the DOS policy to be in place, right? What is what this will do basically? This will take care of the flood, right? So like if say I can give one example of that, right? So think that you are at the you are giving the exam, or you are doing some kind of training, right? And then there is someone at the door which is he's ringing the bell all the time, right? So you have to leave that, and because you can't leave the exam in between, right? So that is why you are keep going on there writing the exam. But in the meantime, there is someone at the door who is ringing the bell again and again, right? So what will happen? So your attention on the writing the exam will be reduced, right? So this is called the denial of service. This is the best example of the denial of service. So in the practical world, how it will happen? So there is a server, and say think that this is a web server which is serving the traffic for all the remote servers or any of the other clients, right? From the internet, and then there is a firewall, then it is serving the traffic, right? So then there is a attacker, right? So we see this attacker, okay? So he is also in this, right? So this attacker, right? So what he sees, right? So he somehow he access this internet and he comes to this public IP, right? And then there are multiple tools available over the internet where we can get all these public IPs and they can interrupt. And apart from that, if the traffic is not encrypted, then he can able easily have the look on that. Then he can initiate multiple connection to the same server. So think that your web server, you are hosting some there is a banking website is there, and you are hosting that application on that, and on the same server he is generating multiple requests, right? So that time what will happen, this server is busy in catering this attacker request, right? So that time the legitimate user who is asking that, who is able to access the server, so that will be reduced because it is serving this attacker request also, right? So he can generate multiple requests with the help of the multiple online tools. There are like hping, and there are multiple online tools are there, where in the fraction of time they will be initiating multiple requests to the firewall, and then it will serve the go to the backend server. So this is called as a DOS policy. So we have to configure that, right? So according the rate limits, and we have to apply to the firewall policy, whichever is going, right? So if it exceeds the threshold, then we block it, right? If it exceeds, say, so genuine request, he'll not be able to generate multiple this one. But if it is generate like out of in 1 millisecond, in 1 second, there are multiple requests coming from the same source, then we deny that. So that policy we can configure in the firewall, that is called as the DOS policy. So DOS policy will be taken care, and IP integrity header and checking, right? So this is the automatic inbuilt. You need not to configure this one. So this will make ensure that the any errors is there on the packet, right? So they like any header checksum error, right? In L2 and L3 level, any header checksum error, anything error is there. So that it will be checking on the module, and then it will if it is anything modified on that header, it will block it. So that is the feature of the IP integrity header checking. And next comes the IPsec VPN decryption, right? Yeah, IPsec VPN decryption, where say the server, right? So server is initiating the communication, or say user is initiating the communication to the remote user or remote server. Say I'll just modify this one. Okay. So here, we want this user to be go to the remote server with the IPsec VPN communication. So what is IPsec basically? I'll just give you the brief overview. Okay. So now you are seeing the user. This comes to port 1 and go to port 3 and then go to the remote user. So this will be the normal traffic which is not encrypted and authenticated, right? So there is no confidentiality, there is no integrity, so that the remote user can confirm that it is received from the right source. That is also not there. And authenticity, right? So we have to identify the user who came, right? So that is also not there. To cover all these CIA parameter, which will be used for the VPN, right? Right. So there is a confidentiality. So I will make sure that the user from here, the traffic entirely encrypted, right? Whenever it is leaving the FortiGate, and then it's going to the remote server, right? So I will make sure that traffic is encrypted. So that is a feature of confidentiality. Integrity. Integrity is nothing but to check whether the right there is no changes happened on that part. So once the communication received at the remote server, there is no changes happened. So that we call as integrity. So authenticity is basically like who actually initiated the communication. So these three things we will be taken care by VPN, and there are multiple VPNs, right? So there is IPsec and SSL VPN. So IPsec is basically the site-to-site VPN that we call. The user is initiating the traffic to a remote user so that no one in the internet will see the traffic as the plain text. So it is encrypted with this new header. So there is a new header. The firewall will be having the new header, new source, so that this source is not seen to the public internet, right? And the destination here also will be having one of the firewall, and then we establish the communication. So that we call as the IPsec VPN communication. Okay. So this decryption will happen here on the firewall. Like encryption will happen here, and decryption will happen on this other end firewall. So this also will be having the firewall. So decryption happens over there. So that time we will be seeing this IPsec VPN feature that is inbuilt. So that will be the processing will take care here. The decryption process that will take care before going to any of the other modules, right? So I hope these are all clear for everyone now. These first 5 concepts. Okay. So the next thing is, right, there's the admission control, right? So this is like uh, a reporting, not the reporting basically. These three are different modules, right? So, but these needs to be configured, right? So if you did not configure, directly the firewall will go to the kernel, right? Which will take care of all these different process, right? So if you configure this quarantine in the sense, so it is like a malicious user, malicious traffic, right? So this one we have to integrate with the FortiTelemetry. FortiTelemetry in the sense it is an online FortiGate tool, online FortiGate portal where we have the list of the all the uh, quarantine IPs, right? Like all the malicious IPs list, server list. So all the list that we have. So if we configure the FortiTelemetry on our firewall, to check the traffic for this. So if there is any quarantine or if there is any virus is there or anything that malicious this is there. So this telemetry will be updated over the internet for any of the other attacks, new sources, new malicious sources. So on the basis of that, this the traffic will be taken care as the quarantine, right? If traffic is generated from specific source where we know that that is the malicious source, the 40 telemetry will tell to the quarantine this one. So then quarantine, it'll the traffic will not be forward to the next module. It will be discarded over there. It will be blocked over there. So and then there is a user authentication or the captive portal, right? So this is where the authentication will happen, right, for the SSL VPN or for the any of the let's say LDAP users, radius users, right? So that we'll be seeing the authentication part. We have to configure this one over the firewall, and we will be seeing that like how we can do that. So these three parameters will take care of the admission control part. So next thing is kernel. So kernel is a process actually. So in the for the firewall, and in that we have the destination NAT. The first thing is the destination NAT, right? So think in this scenario, the user is going to the internet, right? So there is no NAT, right? NAT means network address translation, right? So people who do not know network address translation, right? So in this, there are two types. Basically, mainly we'll call this source NAT and destination NAT, right? So here, the so the user is initiating traffic here, and whenever it wants to communicate to internet, since this is a private IP address, it will not be able to go to the internet. So it will be converted over the public interface IP. Here you are seeing port 3. This will be converted on that IP or any of the public other IPs that we can allocate for all. So that is called as the source NAT. Here, the source of the traffic is getting changed. Whereas in destination NAT, say the remote user, he's talking to the server. So he comes here and he hits that the public IP. Then public IP will be converted to the respective private IP. Say this one, the server, if you want to access the server. So that will be called as the destination NAT. So here you see the destination of the traffic is changed, right? So this is a basic and fundamental thing, right? Whenever we know what is that actually. So there are static NAT is there where it mix the both source NAT as well destination NAT, and then it will have the conversation for that. So like this, the NATing is there. So here in case so user is talking to a remote server, so that time no destination NAT is there. So in other scenario where we consider that the remote user is initiated the communication. So this remote user is initiated the communication to the server, right? So that time this destination NAT will be there. So apart from that, we will be having this whatever you are seeing, right? So this is a source NAT, right? So this will give you like overall view, right? How what is the source NAT, what is the destination NAT, and when exactly it will do, right? So initially destination NAT will take the preference, right? So whenever the packet comes on port 3, it will do the destination NAT. Directly it will do the destination NAT from this IP, public IP, to the private IP, the DMZ or the server IP, basically the server IP 192.168.100.1. This is server IP, and this will be some gateway will be there here. So that destination NAT will look like, say, any traffic coming to this public IP. So I'll just give an example. Here, if you see on the port 3, we have configured. So we have 100.1.10. This is an interface IP that we configured, and it will convert it to 192.168.100.1. So this is an example for the destination NAT where the public IP will be 100.1.1.10 and will be converting it to 192.168.100.1. So the destination NAT taking the place in the firewall flow. So this is the destination NAT, and
So,
then there is, yeah,
Raj, I have a question.
yeah.
So, for the internal LAN traffic
Mm,
within the corporation, we do
mm.
not need netting, right?
Nothing, no, no. Because
Okay.
you see,
Mhm.
right, here, even though in outside, right, so if you require, you do the NAT, right? Otherwise, it's just the, say, it is like a, if you want to go to the internet, then only you will do the NAT, right? Otherwise, in the
Right.
LAN to LAN communication, there is no NATing required. So generally, there is a myth that NATing in the sense only private to public IP conversion, right?
Right.
So this is a myth actually. So it could be private to private, it could be private to public, right?
Okay.
So that is what actually. So even I can do the natting, right? So I can hide that, right? 10.10.1. So whenever port 1 is coming and port DMZ is there, just do the natting on this interface, right? There is a DMZ, there is a port 2,
Mm.
right? There's a port 2.
Mm.
I can do the
Mhm.
natting here also. But why
Mm.
we that is not required, because we know that this is a trusted one, right? And
Mhm.
we want to know that who is the user that is attacking, right? Or if any
Mhm.
user is there, so he is creating
Mhm.
the traffic, say any malicious traffic, say some
Mhm.
user. So that we will, if we do the natting, we will not come to know that. So that's why we will not do, most of the case we will not do any natting inside the network.
Right. So DMZ is basically the open source, right? Like it's the non-secure zone
No,
as
no,
per my
no, no,
understanding. No.
no, no. DMZ is, we call that as a demilitarized zone where
Okay.
the secured server will be accessed. It's a secure
I
server.
see.
You have your own web
Mhm.
server, you have your own
Right.
application server. But
Right.
whereas the internet or WAN zone that we call untrust
Mm-hmm.
zone, so also
Mm-hmm.
in Palo Alto and we call this untrust, Juniper like untrust, right? So like
Right.
that. So this is the untrust zone which is connected to internet. So here this zone is called as the internet or WAN or untrust zone. Demilitarized zone is a secured zone where you host the your servers. It
Server.
could be
Right.
AD, it could be AD, it could be DNS,
Mm.
SMTP, right? Web application servers, right?
Right.
And then you
Right.
will be having one more as the DB one, which is separate
Mm-hmm.
from all the servers, right? That is a
Right.
DB layer that we have, right?
Mm.
But normally in any case, right, any topology will not be looking like much of similar to like this, but there will be multiple layer firewalls that you will be seeing, right? Not only one firewall. So you have some database, you will be having different firewall that is connected to this firewall, and all the communication will have to pass through these two firewalls. Then there
Right.
will be database firewalls. So like that, there's a two perimeter firewall, intermediate firewall, and core firewall. So it depends
Okay.
on the use case, right? So
Mm. Okay. Thank you.
yeah. So now, so the routing we are talking, right? So the routing one, right? So we will be having the static routes. Now we have to focus on the routing, right? So let's routing. Right. So now you see that user is want to talks to internet. So there will be a default route that is required for the firewall to communicate to the internet. So that is a default route, right? Or the static route. Static route also will be there. And then we have the dynamic routing. right, which includes OSPF and BGP, right? So default route is nothing but where we say that any traffic comes on this source. So on this firewall, we just direct it to internet. So that is called as a default route. And then static route, where you give the specific destination on the firewall. Say that to reach to this one 192.168.100.1, you follow the gateway of this, right? So like that we'll be giving that, or if you give the port 2 as the interface for that, right? But since it is directly connected, here we'll not be using this static route, right? So that is why we'll be mentioning that a static route. So in case the user wants to talk to some branch user, say this is a branch user, right? And here we are having this, and here we are having this IP as 20.20. Some remote user or remote branch, you can say. So user wants to talk to this branch. So on the FortiGate firewall, we'll be having the route towards the static route towards the this one 20.20.20.0. So like that. So that is a static route. And then there are dynamic routing protocol, which is OSPF and BGP, right? So just one given example of the OSPF, right? So here this is a main site that we have, and then here we have the branch site, right? So this is a firewall tool. So this is acting as a branch, right? And this wants to establish the communication. So you can do a static route also. Otherwise, you can use the OSPF so that the routing table of any of these links is getting down. So that time OSPF will be taking care of that, and then it will establish the communication, right? The routing table will be automatically, it will be updated on the OSPF, open shortest path first. This is a protocol. So, and BGP. So we can run this BGP, IBGP or OSPF on this one. Otherwise, so there are, say, in the other scenario where, uh, okay, so there is one more ISP, right? So there is one more ISP you have, right? And you have this port 4, right? It's ISP2 and this is ISP1, right? So if you want to have the two, there are two paths, right? So to reach to the firewall to the internet. Normally, this is the scenario where in every organization we'll be having the two paths, redundant paths, right? So that if this link is failed, I can divert the traffic to other link, right? If the any of the Vodafone or any of the provider, right? Airtel, any of the provider you can take, right? So if one of the fails, right, if Vodafone fails, the traffic should be going towards the Airtel, right? So that time you will be configuring the BGP to these neighbors, right? And then we will be having the manipulation of the traffic done with the BGP, right? If I want to go all the traffic towards the on this main link, let's say the ISP1, and only the rest of the traffic that can go for the ISP2, right? So that time, say HTTP, HTTPS, I will just use ISP2, and other all other traffic I will use the internet, right? Similarly, based upon the bandwidth, based upon the cost, so that time we'll be using this BGP protocol. So basically on the this one, not BGP protocol, basically based upon the cost and everything. So you will do that, and you will decide the which traffic I need to divert where, right? ISP1 and ISP2, like that. So that time all these routing, right? Whatever you are seeing the routing, this one. So we'll come to the routing module, right? And we will see each of them to configuring, and that time we will be seeing the routing decision, how it will takes place with the help of this kind of use cases. Okay. So, so that takes care of the routing part. right? Including the SD-WAN feature also. So then next comes the stateful inspection, policy lookup, or the session management, right? So this one will be having the stateful inspection, right? So stateful inspection in the sense, this is a very keyword, right? So just remember that it remembers the existing connection, right? Or remembers the connection table that we call as, okay? So stateful firewall or stateful inspection in the sense. So I will make sure that when the user talks to 10.10.1 talks to internet, I remember that session. And when the next packet goes to on the same uh, destination, or so that time, so what I will be doing, I'll be I'll be following the same session to process the traffic. Say this session table, how it looks like. It'll be having the tuples, right? So what we call as tuples as source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, protocol, right? So, and then there will be session ID that will be created with the help of this one, right? So all these things will be taken care when the user wants to talk to internet, right? So that time this stateful inspection will takes place, and then it'll the next packet will follow the same session. So that is called as a stateful inspection. So, and policy lookup also will come in that, and then the session management. So to have the session table maintained in the firewall. So like we'll be having different session, say, so I have a TCP and I have the UDP, right? So these will be having different timeouts for the session, TCP and UDP, and accordingly the firewall will maintain that. And after the session timeout that lasts, so within that time, if any packet comes on the same, it will not check all the checks, right? So it will not go through all the modules. It will directly see the session and it will just forward to the session only, right? What is the next path, and it just forward it. It will not process all the sessions because it knows that it's already part of the existing session. Same source, same destination, and same port. Right? Different port also it will be checking. So it's a different port. So then it will check for the another one. If it is same port, then it will be forwarded for the same session. So that is the intelligent that we have in the stateful inspection firewalls or stateful inspection method, right? But in the normal router or L3 or L4, you don't have this feature. Every time that user comes and go to the remote user, so every time traffic is has to go through check whether to allow or deny. So there is no intelligence that maintain like this session table. And then there are, once you look to the session table, there are session helpers that you will see. Session helpers basically, if you have any voice traffic, right, is one of the use case example, right? So you need to open the SIP or any protocol that is S323 like that. So that time session helpers will act as the, it will open, firewall will open dynamically to in order to modify the, in order to accommodate the session, it will dynamically open the ports that we call as the session helpers. One of the example is the voice protocols. So, and the next one is user authentication. So user authentication, as we see here, right? User authentication, right? So we'll be having this. There are methods, right? One is you can create the local users, Another one, you will be having radius or LDAP. Okay, otherwise you have this captive portal, right? Okay, so the local users, right, on the firewall, you can create the local users, right, who can be given for the any admin, right, and then for operator, right. So if you have network team where only the monitoring team where they need to manage or they just need to have the look and feel of the firewall, they will give the operator user, and then there are config or we can say that config users, right? So we can say that config users, right? So they will be the people, or you can just give them same team name, right? Whatever the department name, so they want to do it. So you can just give that name, network team, right? So then we'll know that. So we'll be having creating the credentials, right? So for this network team, so that will come, and whenever he logins to that firewall, he will be seeing what all the configuration that he can make it, right? So he can modify the configuration, he can create that configuration, he can delete it. So in that way it will work, right? So that is a network team. And then there is a LDAP radius where you have these some server, right? And you make all the users, multiple users, thousands of users, LAN, WAN, guest users, everything you group into that in the LDAP or radius, and accordingly you you authenticate it when the request comes to the firewall, you authenticate it. So that is where, and then you create a policy on that. So that is the LDAP or radius. Then there is a captive portal where we check from the outside to inside wherever the traffic is coming. So that time we have to say SSL VPN, right? So we have to authenticate that user, right? So before getting the access to server, so that time we will have the captive portal where we can create the access for the servers. So authentication, basically the authentication will takes place here. And once the authentication takes place, there will be SSL VPN, right? So this captive portal, whatever I said, that will be used for SSL VPN, right? And then, so SSL VPN is nothing but secure traffic. Actually, it is a SSL VPN, nothing but remote site VPN that we call. So this remote user wants to communicate to the server. So he will establish the he will log into that portal. He will authenticate it and he will access the server. So that we call as the remote access VPN. So there is a SSL VPN or remote access VPN. Local management traffic is used for the management of the local firewall. We have the management access of the GUI or CLI, SSH or anything. So that will be taken care next. So these are the main parameters, right? And these are the mandatory one, right? Say if you like some of them as mandatory, but say the routing is not there, then the policy will be denied, right? The it'll packet will be dropped. Then there is a policy, right? Then authentication, then the VPN, right? So all these things we have to carefully configure that and inspect that. So next thing is UTM or next generation firewalls, where these are the different type of inspection, right? So one is flow based inspection, right? Flow based inspection, it will have the so suppose there is one flow is created and it will have the inspection created for the its own antivirus, its own anti-malware, right? All the security profiles that we can see, right? UTM, Unified Threat Management, say web filtering, right? So all the filtering that we can see. So once that is done and the next packet comes, it matches the same source and destination, everything. So it will just go with the it'll just follow the flow. It will not create another set of examination. Where proxy based inspection, it will have the different inspection or different it'll again create the separate session for that, and again it will inspect. So that is called as a proxy based inspection, right? So explicit web proxy in the sense, right, if user wants to talk to internet and FortiGate itself acting as the proxy, right, it itself act as the proxy to have the communication towards the outside. So that we call as the explicit web proxy. It is only used for the web application purpose, for the internet access only that. So all these features, and there are, say UTM, it will cover multiple this one here, multiple modules here. So that and all we will see that. So that will takes place in the after the basic firewall checking happens. So there is a UTM and next generation firewall checks. And then it will forward to the next one where we have the forwarding, and then there is a source NAT, right? So it'll the route is everything is there, and the stateful say. So if I block anything, say if I will allow Google and I block Gmail access for the user, so that Gmail blocking will happen here, right? And if I block zip file access, right? And if I block any kind of malicious, right? And if I block on the basis of uh, user Mac machine, user IP, right? So or the user Mac ID, right? So those kind of inspection will happen here, and then it will be source natted. The source netting will happen at the last, right? And then it will follow the encryption pattern. Like next one is the IPsec VPN encryption. So again, the firewall will do that encryption of that. So this firewall, whenever it comes, so again it will do the encryption of that, and then it will send it again. So so like that. So encryption will happen at the last. Then these are the other things where if you configure that, say traffic shaping, right? Traffic shaping will give help us on that, where I can limit the traffic so that it doesn't exceed from that. Then there are other WAN optimization. So there are other tools on this WAN optimization. How can I optimize the traffic? So there's a TCP IP stack, and then there is a going to egress interface. This network interface called the egress interface. Then it will go to the egress. It will be forward to the egress interface only. So this is how the firewall flow will happen on the FortiGate firewall. Right. So every time the entire journey is on this only, like going each and every depth of this module and try to understand how we can replicate that. Right. So this is what is the thing. And probably I think time is up. So I'll just show you, right, the sample lab, right, which we have created for our application for our lab purpose. Okay, so just give 5 minutes and we will wind up, right, for the demo session. So so here we have the site A, site B, and site C. Right, these three sites normally in any organization, any atmosphere, it exists, right? So here we are in the site A, we have the user and he's connecting to the switch, and then there is a firewall, FortiGate firewall, and there is a connected to internet, right? So this could be a management or this could be any user. And then there is a Windows server, and then that is connected to a router, and then it is connected to FortiGate firewall. It's going outside, right? So we'll be so this is one site, right? So and then there is another branch site of this one. Say site A is having this head office, and this is a branch office, and it is having site B we call. And there is the same setup that we have FortiGate firewall and then Windows firewall, right? So and there is a switch user 2, and there is a Forti manager is there, and Windows to manage this Fortinet manager, we have this Windows manager, like is a server where you can manage the Fortinet manager. So this is the basic setup that we have. And then once the site A is configured, right? So then there will be a router, and then we have this site C, wherein we will be experiencing all the high availability, right? So this is what high availability on this one FortiGate firewall to another FortiGate firewall, and they are talking to the internet. So and there is a server which can be initiated to have the HA check for this one, right? So in this way, we will replicate the HA scenario on this one and dual ISP, the link, whatever method that we can replicate that. So that one, and then there is a user like who is sitting here, and then they want to access the branch site, or this user wants to go to the any branch site, right? So, and then there is a communication or the VPN we can create from port from this site A towards the site C. I can create a IPsec VPN. Then we check that. So all the scenario that we are seeing, so everything will be using this lab, and these labs will be customized based upon the needs, right? So this is what is the lab setup, and here I can show some of the it's already configured. Uh, right? So here, just go to the dashboard. If I go to the status, so this is the same firewall. This is the Fortinet firewall you are seeing here. User is here and Fortinet firewall is there. So I will log into this firewall from this machine. So that is a setup. So here you will be seeing the host name, version, and what is the default mode, right? NAT is the default mode that is deployed for the firewall. So that is what is the mode, and then timing, right? And if WAN IP we have not configured it, so it is giving like that. So uptime, so like that, and all the license part, right? And the security fabric, right? So this will cover it, right? So other CPU things, right? So all these dashboards you can modify it, right? And security. Okay, so this is the intelligence that FortiGate is having. So it will give this in your organization if there is any vulnerabilities there, anything, right? So this is acting as a dashboard for all of the other parameters, right? To check that, right? But if you want to configure any interface, right? So you have to go here, just configure on the interface, right? So you see port one is I have configured with this one, and I have allowed the access which is required. That's it. And I am accessing with the same IP 192.168.1.99. So same IP I'm using for the access, right? The port one is configured here, and I'm using the same IP to access that. So this one we'll configure that. And so basically port one, port two, whatever is the port two is there, right? So port two is connected to ISP, right? So if I check on the port two, you see it's connected to internet. So this is acting as the internet, which will is a management cloud that we call. So this will give access to our internet only. So this is how you configure the interface and have the access, right? And there is a DNS. What are the DNS configuration? Like we'll be having the FortiGate DNS as well as this uh, Google DNS. So whatever the DNS server that you want to configure that. So those things you can give this. This you can specify that DNS server. But normally we'll be taking the DNS configuration. That time we'll see this one. So there is a packet capture that we can do it for any of the communication. And then we have the static routes. So as we discussed earlier, so whatever the destination we want to see this routes, so we can configure here. Currently nothing is configured. So there's the policy routes we can see, and there are RIP, OSPF, BGP. These are the other protocols that we can configure under the network tab. So there's a firewall policy that we will be saying that. So to allow the traffic from one interface to another interface, and we can group that. Here only we see the IPv4 DOS policy, which we discussed, and address, right? So this internet service database is kind of an intelligent method, so that we can identify the application and then we just allow that service. Then there are service and virtual VIPs, right? So this is used for destination netting and the IP pools, so traffic shaping, so all these things. So now currently you see port one to WAN two. This is the only policy that I have configured, right? So I have given the source as all. I can give the specific source. We have to give the specific source object to identify that. So in this case, we have to give 192.161.10, right? And then destination and schedule. We can schedule it weekdays or any time of that, right? So and the service we are allowing all. What are the service we are allowing and action? So there is a natting that is done here. So in this way, the security profiles, right? So here we'll configure the different security profiles. Right? So web filter, file filter, DNS filter, application filter. So this is the inbuilt one. So we'll be seeing all of this one security profiles. So this is where here we have to define here all the filters. There are inbuilt filters also where it is giving. Okay. So you can override that, right? And how we can fine tune that, right? Attacks, fine tune whatever the profiles that we are keeping in. So that also we will see application signatures, right? So like that. And then there are VPN. So this is IPsec tunnel and SSL portal or SSL VPN. So these two things we will be seeing that in the VPN configuration. And then there is user and authentication method where we'll be defining that user groups, right? And then the radius servers, LDAP servers, everything. So, and then we are seeing this one. So next is system. So system will be mainly seeing on the HA, how we can upgrade the firewall, firmware upgrade, and then the SNMP, right? So configuration, how we can do that, and replacement messages, how we can have that. This is security fabric. So this will help us to integrate with the, so it will give the overall topology view for you, right? So on the this one. And there is a log and report is there. This is the final thing, like how we can see the where is that traffic is there, how we can sniff that. And there's an antivirus. There are different kinds of traffic that we can see that. And so we'll explore all these options, and also apart from the this GUI, there is a CLI commands, right, that we'll need to give in. So that's what we'll be seeing that. And so the material will look like this, right? So there will be a PPT for each slides, right? Like kind of this one. Like you will be having the configure details of that, what is syntax, everything. And apart from that, you will be seeing the workbook where you'll be seeing how we can configure that. So one of the example, right? Uh, so this one we'll see here, or we can see the web filtering also. This is like, so what is the configuration that you have done? What is the explanation with the screenshot, right? So you will be seeing that web filtering, right? So how we can configure this. So so all these things, like with the workbook with a different set of examples, you will be seeing this. Hope I think this is clear until now. So thanks for all your time. Um, okay. So yeah. So let me know if you have any queries.
I have a one question regarding to site-to-site VPN. Let's suppose if you want to set up a site-to-site internet, so what are the criteria we need to make sure before the setup?
Yeah. So in the IPsec VPN, basically we need to have the neighbor IP, the remote end IP, right, and the pre-shared key, right. So which you need to agree, and also the parameters, right, like the I said CIA, right, where we have the confidentiality, which is nothing but the encryption algorithm. So you have to make sure that all the encryption algorithms, like it could be DES, 3DES, AES, right, and then the authentication methods, right? So the you are authenticating with the certificate, or you are authenticating with the password, just the plain password, right? And this password has to be secured with the remote end over the email, not on the phone, not everywhere. Over the secured email you have to do it, right? So and then there is certificate authentication is also there. So in this way, basically these are the prerequisite where you need to have the establish the IPsec VPN communication.
That's all.
Yeah. Is it fine, or you need more detail on that?
Any routing?
Yeah. Routing will be the right. See, if anything, if you want to have the communication towards the any other side, right? Say now,
Mhm.
I will show you this example, right? So in our setup, screen is not sharing, right?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the FortiGate VM deployment. Any regarding the software standpoint? Do you have any session for how we deploying that? How we
Yes.
onboarding? Okay.
Yeah. So our backend team will assist to for you to deploy all of these devices, right? And I will also show you, right, how we can say how we can have the each module, right? Say 48 and everything. So you can just click on the right hand click and node and just give the 48, right? And then you have to select the module, which is VM64, this one. And then so all these things will be taught to you, and the same deployment will be there, and our backend team will also help you on the installation of that. And you just need to right click on this one, right? So right click on this one and you will get like this, right? So so the installation will be taken care by our team, and you will be having the same kind of setup.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just to answer the other queries, right? So the routing you have asked, right? I think
Yeah.
I don't know. So here, right? Anywhere, right? So if you want to travel anywhere, right, outside, so you would need the routing here. So here we will be having the routing towards this router. This is the internet router
Okay.
where you will be seeing
Okay.
normally in an internet, and there will be other end router. So we will be establishing the IPsec VPN communication to this, right? So that you can test from all the traffic to ping and whatever is there to the server, right? So in that way we'll establish that communication. And there will be firewall policies. There will be say there is no natting. There is a firewall policy that we have to do, and there is a phase 1 phase 2 parameters we have to configure that. So everything will be done. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So who is next? Can down the hand, right? If can raise down, right? If anyone, or you can type that. Yeah.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. Yeah, Mohan.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Mohammed,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. How are
Yes,
you?
yes. Yeah. I'm good. Tell me.
About this course, you mentioned combo 5 in 1. Can you please tell what exactly it means? I mean, some other firewalls are also including this course.
Yeah, I think that query, right? So we'll give it to this Sajid, right? Because they will be taking care. But here I'll be taking care on this one, right?
Okay, all right.
On the FortiGate one, basically on the FortiGate, right? So you'll be focusing morely on the FortiGate, but the combo one, right? What and all you will cover. So Sajid will take it for that.
Okay, yes, please. And one more question for Sajidat. Uh,
Yeah.
there was a course from CCNP security to CCI. Uh, So these firewalls are also including on there as well, or what? It's for just for clarification because I didn't get the feedback for the previous course. I'm
Okay.
just waiting from yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
hello, Muhammad. Yeah. So can you just keep this question for next 2 minutes? So I think once
Mm,
Muhammad completes the technical thing, I'll be taking it over. So I'll be giving all the required information.
okay, boss. No issue. No issue, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I request if anyone having technical queries, so you can ask me.
For a technical perspective, I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Mohammed.
This course is how much is for I mean practical perspective because
Mhm.
as I'm in industry, most of the people who is participating in this session are mostly in
Mm.
working in industry. So how much is it's a practical with respect to industry requirement?
Yeah. So, so we will have this use cases, right? Say the use
Mhm.
case, say suppose say we take example for natting, right? So it will be
Yeah.
the same, right? If you go to any industry or same thing. So we'll be replicating the same. source NAT, destination NAT, and there are different types of NAT, right? In the source NAT also we have the there's the interface based, there's a pool based, right? And there are others, override and so many other methods. So we'll replicate each scenario, we'll divide that each module, right? And then we will go ahead on that. So the on the you will be seeing this on the practicality, right? So
Okay.
you we have the labs, right? Where and the this one we have given that you see here. So master, right?
Second.
Right.
Yeah.
So here, so all of them will be covered, right? So CLI, dashboard, working labs, right? DNS server, right? And then you have the static routes, default routes, right? So OSPF. So if you know the basic concept, then the only thing is, right, the IP will be changing and the setup will be changing. That's it. So apart from that, so you see MAC address. Some of the concepts will not be used also in some of the environment, right? And what is the NAT and what the transparent mode and what's the profile and this one. So everything you will be seeing. So like dividation will be like initially 40 minutes or 50 minutes I'll be taking on the respective theory, and then I will get into labs, right? And then will implement that, right? So in that way that my approaches will be that like that, okay, for each of the this one, right? Web filter, right? How we can configure that.
Okay,
uh,
perfect.
okay.
Yeah.
So and there
Yeah.
is, you see, natting is there. So this is source NAT only, we have all this, so we have set up for all that type, and destination NAT also, right? So this will cover almost everything whatever you need to know, be expert on the FortiGate firewalls.
Exactly, because this one is the most being used firewall in the industry right now.
Yeah,
FortiGate
yeah,
and Palo Alto, these two or three are
yeah.
major in, especially the big service provider here in Saudi Arabia, especially
Okay.
all. So these are the most demanding and using right now.
Yeah. Why? Because it's very easy, right? So and the graphical interface is easy and stable with the more features. This is a
Exactly.
keyword, right? So that's why we are recommending that actually, and even industry partners, everyone is recommending that firewalls. For Palo Alto is there, and Cisco ASA is somewhat difficult because of that configurations and everything. But now also that is stable. So there are other firewalls also, right? So in that way you can go. Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, boss.
Yeah.
We'll cover troubleshooting paths and these are the configuration
Yeah. Yeah.
parameters.
So here, right, if you take any lab, right, so if you take just the interface configuration also, right, so if it is not communicating, right, towards the destination zone, so you will be doing the troubleshooting, right? So that is part of that, part of each and everything, right? So there will be like debug commands, packet capture commands, and the tracing, right? So whatever you are taking if the how you troubleshoot if the packet is receiving at your end, not leaving not leaving the firewall, right? How you do that? So that's a debug command that we have, right? So in that way we'll be taking that, and it will be including CLI also, right? The commands, right? So there are some execute ping option, execute trace option, and debug snoop option, right? So those type of commands based upon the scenario, right? So if it is more difficult, right? So if it is really required that one, so we will take that, right? So otherwise there are some this one, right? So where we can see on the firewall also, right? On the firewall also we can see that. So there also we will take it, right? In the logs and reports, we will be seeing that. So there also we will be showing it, because most of the times what will be this is easier one than compared to 49 CLI. So both of the things we will be covering that.
I have a question, Raj.
Yeah.
So I am planning to get the certification exam after this course, and it says NSE4 based on, the old exam structure. So what is equivalent to NSE4 to current exam structure? So I know that what exam I supposed to, like the certification I'm getting. Is it FCA or FCP? What is the equivalent exam or the program we are doing as per the current exam structure?
So it's the NSE4, right? FortiGate NSE4. That is
Right.
what actually, and then there are some advanced concept, and then there are real world scenarios that I will be implementing on each of the this one example, right? So that is how it goes, right? It's NSE4 plus advanced version, advanced
Right.
confirmation. Yeah.
But it's not NSC anymore, as per the current exam structure or the
Yes.
course
Yeah.
structure. So it's now Fortinet certified associate, Fortinet certified professional.
Correct.
So, so
I
what
completely
is this?
understand that it is just the
Yes,
naming has been changed, right?
right.
And see, if you take any firewall, any certification, the concepts and everything, right? So it will be remain same. They will be changing that name, right? NSC, right? Instead of NSC, they will be covering that. But if you see
Mhm.
the syllabus, right? The syllabus will mostly, right? So whatever I shown the lab syllabus on the for this one, so it
Mhm.
will be aligned to that. You see the models. You see the models here, right?
Yes.
Check your this one, right? Whatever the certification you are talking, right? So in the same certification you check, right, how much it covers, right? And if you
Mm.
need any additional of that, right, so let me know, I can replicate that to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I ensure that some of the this part will not be covered in that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So in this curriculum, lab is also included,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
we
this was
need to purchase it externally?
yeah, this list lab is also included in the this one, in the curriculum. So you will get the access to the labs like this, your own labs, and the topology will remains the same, right? And say in 1 hour, this one, right? So we'll be doing that lab setup. Yeah, I think here, right? So you'll get like this same kind of lab, and so the terminology is everything, right? So the terminals one where you can access all these firewalls, right? And the user machine also. So this machine, right? So currently you are seeing this Windows machine. So same thing you will be seeing. This is a Windows machine that I'm having, right?
So can we use lab
Virtual one. It is all virtual. Yeah.
anytime, like anytime, let's say on the program?
Yes, yes, yes. So it is like you can take this question, Sajid, right? So there will be like I don't know the this one, but the setup will be the same. Like how long you need it, right? So when exactly you will be accessing. So Sajid will take care of that question.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah. The availability you are asking, right? Anytime you want the access for the labs, right? So that
that's right.
will yeah. Just ask with Sajid also. Okay. Yeah. Any technical other queries?
No.
Yeah. Okay. I think shall we wind up the session, technical session now, and we will hand over to Sajid.
Yeah, I'm here. I'll take it from here.
Yeah, thanks for everyone on this this one schedule, and thanks for the demo session for attending.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Myself Sajid. I'm a student relationship manager and counselor. So I'm here to give you the details regarding this course, Firewall Mastery, Fine One Combo. So as you can see on my second slide, so I'll be giving you the details on the course syllabus and class schedule. So firstly, this will be going to be Firewall Mastery, Fine One Combo training. So first we'll be starting with the FortiGate firewall, which covers NSE4, and then we'll be starting for Palo Alto. There we'll be covering PCNSA, PCNSE papers. So after that, there will be the Cisco ASA firewall. There will be covering Cisco ASA, FTD, FMC. So so overall, this will be going to be some basic to expert level training on the firewalls. Then we'll be going towards the checkpoint. After that, there will be a FILTM load balancer training. Okay, and overall, this will be a total 5 modules, 4 firewalls plus one FILTM load balancer training. Okay, the class schedule for this course will be like this. This will be going to be a weekend batch, Saturday, Sunday, from 9 a.m. To 11 a.m. IST, Indian timings. Okay, and this course duration will be going to be 5 to 6 months. Okay, and these batches will be running in weekends, morning time and evening time. So as of now, this firewall batch started for the weekend morning time with the FortiGate module. So after this FortiGate, you'll be going to the Palo Alto firewall. Then once you complete the Palo Alto firewall, then you'll be going to the Cisco ASA firewall. After Cisco ASA firewall, then you'll be going to the Checkpoint firewall. So after Checkpoint, there will be a FILTM load balancer fire training. So overall, 5 modules will be going to cover here in the firewall mastery combo course. Okay, and this will be the timing Saturday, Sunday, weekend batch 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. IST. The course duration will come up for 5 to 6 months. Okay, and next, let me move towards the next slide. So, which is for course enrollment and access details. So here you will be getting to know like what all access we are going to provide you guys once you are going to enroll. So you'll be getting the lifetime recording access. Let's say you are attending the live classes through the Zoom meeting or web access or something. So once you attend the classes, that classes will be recorded and that will be uploaded to our LMS, which are present on our web portal. So from there, once the class is done, the recordings will be uploaded in meantime of 1 hour. So once you attend the classes, so the recording will be remains with you for lifetime access on your LMS. So whenever you want, you can go through the recordings. Like let's say if you are preparing for some interviews, or if you are preparing or referring some concepts as per your organization, so you can refer, and the recordings will remains with you for lifetime access. Whenever you want, you can access the class recordings. And secondly, we'll be providing you the remote lab access that can be accessible 24/7 unlimited. So whenever you want, you can access the labs which are present on our servers and cloud servers. And for each firewall, we are providing the dedicated 3 months of lab access. So let's say you'll be getting the FortiGate 3 months of 24/7 lab access, and for Palo Alto, we are providing 3 months lab access. For Checkpoint, we are providing 3 months of lab access. For Cisco ASA Firewall, 3 months, and for FILTM load balancer, 3 months. So overall, for each firewall, you will be getting the 3 months of lab access that can be accessible 24/7. Whenever you want, you can access the labs. Okay. And here, third point, we'll be providing you the dedicated materials like workbooks, PPTs, PDFs, step-by-step lab manuals. All the materials we will provide you that you can download and you can keep it with you as well. Just let's say if in case if you lose your materials, so you can re-download the material once again from the G drive, and the G drive link access remains with you for lifetime. Whenever you want, you can download the materials. And let's say if you have the good configuration of your system, then we'll be assisting you to set up a home lab on your laptop or on your personal server, anything it may be. So we'll be helping you to deploy the home lab setup, and one of our team member will connect with you, and he will do the home lab setup by using some remote application. So you just need to download the required files from the G drive. So for that, we will assist you how you can download and keep ready all the materials. And once our team member will connect, and he will do the setup, and he will hand it over to you. And this home lab setup access also remains with you for lifetime. Whenever you want, you can access it. And we'll be providing you the 24/7 backend support from our NetworkJourney team. If you are facing any issues, any queries regarding to the course, or regarding to the portal, or regarding to the lab, anything it may be, you just need to raise a ticket on our support DL. One of our team member will connect with you, and we will resolve your issues accordingly in meantime. Okay. And let's say it may be your some organization issues you are getting or something like that. So whatever it may be, if you have something to just get cleared with us, or just required a help to clear that problem, so you just need to raise a ticket, so the right person will reach you out, and he will help you to resolve your query. Okay,